came right back down.
Yeah, came right back down. And then Runecraft as well. We saw a few really cool Runecraft games in, our casting of the Shadowverse Open, but maybe not going to see
Daria decks with mutagenic bolts, things like that.
Yeah.
Alas.
Really cool. So let's jump into the first game here as the NGE Shadowverse Open kicks off. Balaen versus JaZe.
Do you think it's JaZe or is it JaZe? This is definitely JaZe.
I think it's JaZe.
We'll go with that.
I remember a specific time that I was actually casting with the very one and only Mofamoka, a very special person, and he said JaZe, and JaZe was like, "Oh, he pronounced my name right," so I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
JaZe with this first turn he's got doesn't have a 1-drop, but Balaen has the Taji. And he also has a 2-drop as well with the Lancer as well. There is a 2-drop, just came in the hand of JaZe from the Soul Squasher, so the tempo is going to be picking up for JaZe.
Yeah, so Shadowcraft, Swordcraft is kind of the popular matchup that we've seen time and time again. And I feel like the matchup seems pretty even in many ways. Maybe leaning towards Shadowcraft a little bit in tournament play. I think a few more times it's been Shadowcraft beating out the Swordcraft deck, and then the Swordcraft deck coming back to win against the alternate deck, and then whatever they bring as the alternate winning as well.
Yes. Definitely Catacomb and Hector having massive impact on these decks, being able to make sure you have a full board and then buff up those followers for a massive amount of face damage only on turn 7. So we'll see if JaZe can draw that card just like he needs to. But an Orthrus here going to be able to clear out that Lyrial Archer.
Yeah. Now, great thing about the combo that JaZe played was it guaranteed at least a follower ready to swing on turn 4, so Orthrus could be dropped. Floral Fencer on turn 4 for Balaen is going to be really great. You can spend the Evolution Orb here to try to gain back some control. So far, the most concerning thing is JaZe's next turn, great, Cerberus, but he really only has 2 turns to draw into an on-curve Ector, which is really, I feel like, a very important point for Shadowcraft to hit, especially if it's not necessarily
He did just come into a Shadow Reaper. We'll see if he's probably going to want to play the Cerberus Evolve, tackle into the Fencer there, just to get that Coco and Mimi. But
I wonder if you do something like Bone Chimera Shadow Reaper, if you just get a wide range of bodies on the board and start pumping up that Shadow Reaper a lot.
He does have the perfect amount of play points for just that turn. You could evolve the Bone Chimera and use that to trade into the Fencer as well, ensuring that the Reaper kind of gets buffed up this turn.
The interesting thing is, if you pump up your Shadow Reaper too much, especially against Swordcraft, you actually run the risk of hitting into its Tsubaki. So I feel like JaZe will be a little bit cognizant of that and try to play around it. But, of course, we know that currently there's no Tsubaki in hand.
Right. And it's not always a card that all the Swordcraft decks usually run. Sometimes a Sword deck will elect to bring Cyclone Blade instead of Tsubaki for more of AoE clear. But like you just mentioned, the Sword deck, it's more people build the Sword deck to go up against Dragoncraft, to go up against Havencraft, not Shadow.
Yeah. Tough situation here for Balaen, as is classic with the Shadow Reaper. There's so many cards on the board, and the more you clear, the stronger the Shadow Reaper gets. And you still have that turn 6 where you can play Cerberus and keep buffing up that Shadow Reaper. And so I think Balaen made the right choice here to go for face.
And that's a lot of damage he just
spread out his health. He's trying to make sure that both his cards are healthy. Didn't evolve the Albert for the extra 2 damage on that particular card. Chose to put it on his 2/2.
But these are a lot of skeletons that are about to go down to clear this board. Soul Squash are going to be able to take out the Steelclad Knight, but that's still a full board of followers that JaZe has the ability to get rid of.
Oh, man.
To make that Shadow Reaper even stronger, and there's not a Tsubaki in hand. That is one beefy Shadow Reaper.
Yeah, this is going to be really difficult right now. Shadow Reaper up to 7 damage, plus the Evolve on Orthrus is going to take a chunk of Balaen's health out here. You need some way to be able to clear out this board.
The Evolved Geno would be able to take out the Shadow Reaper, or the Evolved Lyrial Archer as well.
I think that might be the option he goes for. The Geno is still going to have Rush, so he can take down 2 of the cards at the very least.
Right.
That's really, I mean, drawing into that Shadow Reaper was so effective for JaZe. Main Leader is the only other choice here, so he's leaving 4 damage on the board, and that's going to mean Cerberus can come in.
Yep, Cerberus is going to come in. He's going to have the perfect 2 points remaining for Coco and Mimi to both do their effect, and JaZe's going to be able to take this game 1.
I should have foreseen this.
Very, very tough. Really, it came down to that board situation, the Bone Chimera. Such a strong card. I mean, you think about Shadowcraft and in terms of like guaranteeing that you have a card on next turn that's able to swing, and that happened multiple times, either through Catacomb or through Bone Chimera. And then just being that the Shadow Reaper with that ambush effect in many ways is similar in the sense of like a card that is very tough to remove and in that particular case, unable to be removed, right? So it guarantees that it has the opportunity to swing. And that currently is Shadowcraft's biggest strength. There's not a good way to kind of clear out their cards, so you're going to be taking damage to face most of the time. I feel like unless you have some kind of ward option or some kind of actual removal spell, area of effect kind of thing, you're not going to be able to mitigate that kind of damage. 10 damage on the turn was enough to close it out, plus a Cerberus in hand, especially at 7 play points where you can play the Cerberus and then play the cards. It's just instant damage, especially if you have board control.
And now we're going into this second game of this series. It's going to be a mirror matchup. JaZe going back to his, going down to his sword deck.
He's got the Veteran Lancer here. Balaen's going to run the sword again. And typically, you know, as per Conquest format, you actually do want to run what you believe your slightly more counter-oriented deck is, right? The deck that you're confident can win either matchup, you want to run last. The deck you feel has a stronger matchup against one of their decks, you want to run first, because you don't want to miss the opportunity to hit into that deck.
We're together forever.
Sort of ensuring your chances of victory even more.
Very interesting. 2-1 and 4-1. That's kind of an awkward situation in a Swordcraft matchup. Gonna have to spend a Floral Fencer here.
Yeah, bringing the Fencer down to 1 health. The Aerial Archer could evolve, go for face for a lot amount of damage, and also use its ability to just get rid of the Fencer just like that. And you still have an Albert as well, or Luminous Mage if you wanted to use that this turn as well.
There's a lot of Storm in hand, and if there's ever a situation where JaZe gets a step up, he's going to be playing all those Storm cards to be taking momentum of the game, pushing Balaen lower and lower and lower. I think the dangerous thing here is Balaen has both Dance of Death and a Fangblade Slayer. If you ever get to the point where that Fangblade Slayer comes down, given the current hand that JaZe is running, I don't think there's a good way for him to buy himself out of the late game. But he could end up just rushing this out, especially if there's, I mean, Luminous Mage, I would imagine, would be taken down by an Evolve, and then maybe use Dance of Death to remove some kind of, I don't know.
I do like the Dance of Death in this sword mirror matchup, because typically on turn 5, Albert's going to be coming down. And it could be the only, if you've been trading for control the whole time, Albert could be the only card on your side of the field. And if you choose to evolve it, Dance of Death, it's such a prime target.
Especially against the evolved Albert. But I feel like just in general, Albert's going to kind of gain his value just because of his Storm, right? He's going to still be doing damage to your face.
Right.
And so almost I think the Dance of Death is more valuable against the Luminous Mage, just in the sense that Luminous Mage does get value because you get that free evolve.
Right.
But at least you don't take damage to face. I feel like against Albert, you much more want things like ward and whatnot.
Definitely.
Because if JaZe can't drop, or if Balaen can't drop ward, the next 2 turns, there's still lots of damage coming in to face, and there's really, even if Balaen clears the board, that damage is still going to happen, right?
And there's a real difficult hand for Balaen, and a difficult board that he's got to deal with. Dance of Death could clear off the Albert, and his 2 knights could trade into the Lyrial Archer. But just clearing the board like that and emptying your own board of followers, giving JaZe a free hand.
Fortunately for Balaen, he still has 2 Evolution Orbs spent here, and he really needs to make a read on the situation and understand that those Evolution Orbs are valuable right now. Right now is a time, because he's at very high risk of just being rushed down.
So this is the end.
He's going to be able to leave the Geno on his side of the field with 2 health. Really great, but this Awitas could trade into that easily, or this enhanced Geno that he just drew.
That's going to give him some good control here by some of the 2 knights.
And Balaen was forced to use an Evolve Orb, but JaZe did not have to use an Evolve Orb to maintain his field.
Oh, trying to pull a commander. Awkward situation here. going to be able to clear it out. And so just the 3 from Alweda's or the, I mean, with the evolution as well, or the 3 from Albert. Oh, and another Albert being drawn in. Getting ever so slightly to that 8 play point range. That's going to be so important for Balaen, but he went second, so he's going to be tailing. He's going to be tailing JaZe, and it's super important because that means JaZe's going to, excuse me, get the enhanced Albert quicker.
Right, exactly. That could be what determines this match. If JaZe is able to hang on to that last evolution orb, just maintaining control, and he's going to need to get at least 1 more damage of face before the enhanced Albert will be able to do maximum of 10 damage to face. And the Luminous Mage is going to help him do that. He's going to be able to have essentially a free evolve 1 turn.
JaZe also is put in a tough situation because he really has to make the right decision of clearing board or going face.
He's going to use his last evolve orb on the Pirate here.
Now that hurts in some senses because evolve plus storm means a lot of damage to face, but he's not concerned as well because he does have so many innately storm cards that he can kind of still fight for a lot of board control, despite the fact that he may be going up against some very strong cards in the near future. The Grimner I love as well because now it means Fangblade Slayer twice, and then the Grimner for the Killing Blow can be real tough for JaZe to push past.
JaZe just came into an excellent 8 play here, drawing that Novice Fencer
right
on turn 8, having a perfect 8 play points to get rid of, buffing up his followers even more. He's going to be able to clear the board and do a massive amount of face damage.
So this is it. This is.
That's going to be GG. I mean, he's not going to. Balaen's not going to be able to do enough damage to face, and the enhanced Albert is going to be able to close out this game.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the big benefit of playing. Oh, and he gets a Fangblade Slayer. He's going to use it.
He didn't even need the Albert.
Yeah. He didn't even need the Albert in the end. And that's that was the real concern, right? There were a lot of late game options for Balaen, but he just didn't have the options he needed against the sheer amount of storm that was available for JaZe.
Right.
So JaZe, hey, 2-0 is going to be able to push through and Balaen falls.